Hey folks, I'm attorney Roger P. Foley, and today I'm going to talk to you about the negative consequences of a diversion program. Dun, dun, dun. You've seen a lot of videos where I've talked about attempting to get a client into diversion. Anything from a misdemeanor to, sometimes a third or second degree felony. You're never going to get a diversion on a first degree felony. And rarely will you get it on a second degree felony. But sometimes, some jurisdictions, Palm Beach, one of the first cases I remember ever having there, where a prosecutor, I walked in on a second degree felony going, oh boy, like this is going to be tough. And, my facts were this and that. And the prosecutor said, hey, how about a diversion? I was like, on a second degree felony? Because I had been used to Broward County, which would never do that. And they said, yeah, I'll just drop it down to a third and put your guy in a diversion. I was like, thank you. Oh, that's not really good one. Silly. Alright. Still recording. Look at that. Dun, dun, dun. So, anyway, that prosecutor said, Mr. Foley, I'll drop it down from a second to a third and put your guy in diversion. And I thought, wow. Sort of like in My Cousin Vinny when he thinks that the prosecutor is such a wonderful guy because he gives them discovery. If you ever watched My Cousin Vinny, well, you're entitled to discovery. You're not entitled to a diversion, but it wasn't the most egregious case, and it was the first time charge for that client. Anyway, so diversion most of the time is good, as you've seen in other videos. However, it's not always good. So let me give you an example. And this is one of the things, like I generally enjoy handling criminal cases in Palm Beach. As you know, I'm doing a lot of civil cases now, really transitioning the practice to personal injury. I'm going to do both because I enjoy trial work, I enjoy motion work. But sometimes the little stuff of criminal can make you go crazy, and this is one of those things. If you get a diversion program in Palm Beach County, so I had a client that recently had, I don't know, I think he might have been a battery. And the facts were that he got into like a pushing match at a bar or a restaurant with another person. He ultimately got arrested. I think the other party got arrested. Which is like, if both people get arrested, be happy, because you're probably not getting convicted, at least on a battery, because there's something called mutual combatants. But both these guys get arrested. Both these guys are taken to the jail. The case gets filed, which I don't know who the case filing attorney was on that. The case gets filed, and when it gets to the line prosecutor in misdemeanor, they offer a diversion program. Now, I always talk about diversion programs as well. You got to take an anger management class or a drug class or some kind of class. And I love when you're on the turnpike and all of a sudden traffic suddenly appears because tractor trailer pulls out into a lane at 10 miles an hour and everyone screeches on their brakes. Anyway, so the prosecutor doesn't offer like a traditional diversion program because they probably realize that they have no likelihood of conviction. So what they do is they offer both of these guys a diversion program, which is simply a piece of paper. And the piece of paper says you pay $100 cost of prosecution, right? You pay $100 to the clerk and your case gets dismissed. But they sign a little piece of paper. And that little piece of paper says that it's a diversion program. So when the state drops the charges against these gentlemen, you know what it says? It says that the case was dismissed, no prost, right? It was dismissed pursuant to a diversion program. Way, yay them, yay them. Well, this gentleman, several years later, calls me on a case that is in a different county other than Palm Beach. And because he didn't expunge that battery dismissal for the pushing match that led to nothing, that was dismissed for $100, when I attempted to enter him into a diversion program on something that's clearly a case that should be diversion, I was given a big fat no by the prosecutor in that other county. And you go, oh, why? Because most jurisdictions have a rule that say if you've ever received a diversion case, misdemeanor or felony, usually misdemeanor. If you've received a misdemeanor, you can't get another misdemeanor diversion. If you've had a felony diversion, you can't get another felony diversion. Kind of makes sense, right? Because diversion's set up for the first-time person who nothing too serious, to give them an opportunity to conform to society and do the right thing. Blah blah blah. You know, committee notes, not Roger Foley's notes. So, this case that the gentleman had in Palm Beach that I didn't represent him on, and frankly, I may have done the same thing as that attorney, because I see how difficult it is to get a case dismissed in Palm Beach County without going through diversion. And you're like, I don't understand. Well, let me explain. When you're arrested, if you hire a reputable attorney, someone who knows what they're doing, I like to put myself in that category, we usually reach out to case filing in an attempt to get them to decline the charges. If they decline the charges, great, we don't have to worry about diversion. If they don't, then we're usually looking for diversion. But what happens, and I had this several years ago, a woman who was charged with a crime and vehemently denied it. Well, you have the right to fight the case. You have the right to go to trial. And that's a wonderful thing to do. But if you lose, maybe the judge gives you a withhold on a misdemeanor. That happens. But on a felony, that rarely happens. If you go to trial on a felony case, you're more than likely, if you lose, to become a convicted felon and receive jail, prison, probation, sort of the least likely of the things. It does happen. You can be convicted and do some jail and probation, or just do some probation. It is possible, but it's not likely. Generally, when you're convicted of a felony, you usually can become a convicted felon. So the risk, you are punished, yes folks, you are punished for going to trial. So on the case that I'm talking about, The woman was declaring her innocence. I believe she was innocent. I felt like the facts indicated she was innocent. And the prosecutor just would not do it. Would just like, no, I can't give a diversion on this. I mean, I can give a diversion on this, but I will not just dismiss the charges. I want the $100. Now, the $100, just so you know, folks, doesn't go into the prosecutor's hand. It goes to the clerk's office. But it goes into this big account somewhere, because you got to think of all these people that are getting diversion, right? Not just Palm Beach County, but throughout the state. It's some kind of like fund. I don't know, where the hell does it go? I don't know. I got to research that. But I'm sure they'll say it goes for something important, but it probably goes for something not important. It's for a slush fund to get nicer chairs or something, or I don't know. Because person after person, right? Diversion is a very big thing in Palm Beach County. But diversion is supposed to be for the first time offender, the guy or the gal that made a mistake, that committed a crime, but is giving a chance. What about the people who were truly innocent? Well, they get diversion too, but they only get the one diversion. So if they're in another county and they've gotten diversion, you're all happy. Yay, my case got dismissed. Well, guess what? If you get something else in life, if you're in another county, it's not going to be dismissed. So anyway, that is a big pitfall, in my opinion, for diversion, because these jurisdictions rely on the stats. Well, we entered them into a diversion program, and blah blah blah, and we got the $100. I don't know. I just don't think it's fair. Like, why would I even want to do diversion if I was innocent? I want to do diversion because there's no risk. There's no risk at trial, right? Because if I get a diversion and the case is dismissed, then the case is dismissed. And maybe that's great on some charges, but what about the truly innocent person? That person is forced to decide, hey, if I enter this program and I get a guaranteed dismissal, as long as I do what I'm supposed to do and I don't get arrested, I'm guaranteed. Or, I saw my attorney on the news, or I saw him on a billboard, or geez, every time I'm watching the news, a commercial comes up and he or she is on it. Whoo, how confident do I feel that my attorney's going to win? Any real attorney is going to tell you that your odds are 50-50 at best. It's rare that, I shouldn't say it's rare, because I've heard a lot of stories about attorneys going, oh man, no problem, guarantee you win, and run the other way, folks. Because I can tell you, I've won cases that the facts say I shouldn't have won. And I have lost a case where the facts said I shouldn't have lost. But it happens. And again, what happens if you lose a trial? Convicted, maybe you do jail, maybe you do prison, right? Depending on the charge. So that's the one negative thing, and that's a big thing. An innocent person takes diversion, and they don't really get their free shot. So you really got to think about that on diversion cases. When you're offered diversion, of course, you're immediate, I'll never get arrested again. But we're in Florida. You may get arrested for the silliest of things. I'm attorney Roger P. Foley. Thanks for listening.